My interests are in the whole process of organization and creating autonomous organizations.
Yeah.
And I have background in software and in mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
I find my interest in this project all over the place, and so it's hard for me to focus on where I actually want to
Yeah,
get started.
it's
And
fine.
I wore my Euler T-shirt for entertainment. Are you a mathematics fan?
Mm-hmm. Well, well, no.
What is your area of expertise and interest?
Um, my area of expertise is that of communication, and my interest is to provide communication and collaboration services and software globally. And I do this because we've analyzed many applications for communication and collaboration, and also some related applications. And we see room for improvement at not only ourselves, but we have been seeing many objections and complaints about various applications. So we'd like to make software environments easier to use, more unitary, more coherent, more enjoyable, and more effective. Because we see that we feel that there's underused potential. You know, we feel. I mean, we witness this in many users. The one thing is that there are important differences in how effectively different categories of people use their computing devices, and at the same time, we they could speed up some parts of our work. You know, there are still, for instance, in Eastern Europe, there are still many people who have a low understanding of computing, use a small number of applications, use old applications, you know, so they don't use not even the latest. They don't have even the latest benefits, the benefits that they can have from the latest developments, you know, and this means that we don't only develop software, but we're here to support people with all their computing. That is, that we're interested in partnerships with people along the entire supply chain, including with energy providers. So first, we want to manage big data about the provision of energy, of electrical energy globally. When people can afford a fairly reliable source of electrical energy, then we can. It's easier to help them to start using computing devices, and we're here also to teach them. And we're also interested in the same way with providers of access to the internet and with computer manufacturers. And Google, for instance, is a computer manufacturer.
How do you tie your interest in making computing resources more widely available? How do you tie this to the blockchain now? Are you a decentralist? Are you what about the blockchain captured your imagination?
Uh, well, to answer your question very briefly, yes, and we are and have to be aware of. So we are interested in and have to be aware of the newest developments, and want to build relationships with um, the software developers who have a similar mission to serve humanity. That is, let's create smart software. You know, so let's start designing from people, from their uh, goals, needs, and behavior. You know, because many applications are started simply from what some people know how to code, or from a small idea. We're not about small ideas, we're about the big picture. So we want, so anybody can place a request for us to analyze and maybe improve, if necessary, improve their software environment at any scale. For instance, for any individual, irrespective of their knowledge, you know, of any computing, from the very advanced to the beginners. And related to, yeah, and how is this related to what you have mentioned? In the following way, um, um, this decentralization seems to be not only of an improvement of the internet, but a societal and maybe political improvement. That is, different categories of people join this wave. So since it is an improvement, we want to make the most of it. That's why I'm trying to understand well the people on the Synereo team, because they seem to be at the far forefront of this development.
Well, if you want to understand where I'm coming from on this, I told Jim last time we got together before you joined us that I had already started investing in cryptocurrencies, and had even invested in Synereo when I started learning more about Synereo, especially the tech stack. And even though I'm really, you know, I think social networks are wonderful things, but I mean, the social network part of Synereo is almost just a target to shoot at while we try to develop the tech stack, in my opinion. And the reason I think that Synereo's tech stack is superior to everyone else's is that Greg Meredith seems to have a handle on software validation or provability or whatever you want to call it. And I see this through his mastery of exotic computer science and mathematical areas of areas that should be the direction that one goes in if one wants to do this thing successfully.
Yes.
Now, I can't. I heard it. I saw a survey yesterday that said, how many people do you think understand the Casper protocol? And the majority of the respondents said, oh, between 1 and 3 people actually deeply understand the Casper protocol. And that's where we are. We seem to be at the bleeding edge of both theory and technology right now.
Yeah.
And again, Synereo seems to be right at the bullseye of this convergence of ideas and technology, not just ideas in math and computer science, but ideas about the structure of social groups and of organizations and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But one of my concerns about Synereo is when Synereo finally gets its Rolang language written, what's to keep everyone else from grabbing it and slapping it on their own blockchain to create verifiable or valid or contracts which can be validated and software which can be proven correct.
Yeah, and I think Greg says that anybody can set up their own network of Synereo nodes. You know, he's fully anticipating that. But at the same time, the sanctity of the AMP has to be maintained. If you have your own network, you have to be using your own currency. Okay, and if you have contracts with people on Synereo, it will be problematic. I'm not saying you can't do it. You can do transactions across blockchains, but there's a checksum mechanism that verifies that you're part of the AMP network. That's verified on every transaction. So you're not going to be able to connect directly to the Synereo network running on AMPs if you have your own private Synereo network.
Well, yes, that addresses the problem of the take the money and run sort of approach that most will probably attempt, and those aren't the ones I'm primarily concerned about. I'm worried about the ones that can actually implement Greg's ideas on their own networks, and then.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a constantly moving target, and the inertia that they will have will certainly, you know, that gives them great motivation to provide service, you know, good service to the attention economy at a reasonable cost, and use their amps wisely in order to dominate the market. But yes, there can be a split. You know, like the ETC and Ethereum, there certainly can be a split, and some other currency could end up supplanting the AMP if people have reason to defect from the AMP. So yes, as the ideas will apply, but at the same time, it's a moving target in that there's aspects of Casper that are never ending, in the sense that the contracts are arbitrary in Synereo, and consensus is at every level. It's not simply the ordering of transactions like it is on other blockchains. What it is, and it's not global consensus, it's local consensus, in the sense that you know, you have enough redundancy and verifiability, but not every node has to agree on everything, like in Ethereum or Bitcoin. So it's decentralized. The point I'm trying to make is that the thing behind Casper is really proof by proof, okay, which is something that will evolve with Synereo and much more powerful than Casper alone as Ethereum is implementing it.
Well, that does provide me some amount of comfort in my concerns. What happens if Greg, who would pick up the, what happens if Greg abandons the project? Is that showing lack of faith to ask a question like that?
Well, we always have to face the possibility that he could get hit and bust tomorrow. Okay, that's could happen, and if we lose Greg, that won't stop me from building it. But Greg is the vision behind this, and he's the master mathematician behind it, and clearly,
well, he's not. He's not the magician, but he's certainly got the vision that has yet to be completely shared with the rest of the team. And I express this concern because I know I'm certainly not competent to pick up the baton if Greg were to pass it off. And what would you do if that eventuality happened? Would you find people that you felt confident could carry through with what he was doing?
Yeah, there's people working on this problem from other angles. Okay, the graphical lambda calculus and A-Life project and Chem Lambda. Where they're building mathematical machines. So essentially, I would, if Synereo project died tomorrow, I would just switch my efforts to which of those projects I felt was closer to Greg's goals. Unfortunately, none of them are using the process calculus. So I would have to impose the process calculus on those projects, which isn't hard. It's not hard. It has a direct relationship to the lambda calculus. So, our want to build a network where all the nodes are part of one giant mathematically perfect machine that we all share. Okay.
Please continue the conversation. My cat is stuck and I must go rescue her.
Okay, I'll pause the recording.
Yeah, okay.
We're going.
Yeah, so we can continue from where we left. I was just saying that one principle that guides us is to create applications for communication that are complete, because at the moment we see that there is at least one function that is desired and missing from any application that we would use. Of course, this would give people more comfort, and one reason is the fact that they would stop negotiating, what application to use, that we find a waste of time. We don't want to divide people, we want to enable people's actions.
Yeah. An important aspect of that in Synereo is, first of all, the separation from the interface from the programs, so that you can have your own interface or whatever. But that you can it's composable. Okay, so when you orchestrate a process, a communication process, you can use little pieces that compose it, and you can tack it together so that it provides the functionality that you want. If there's a piece of functionality missing, okay, you can just stick that, drag and drop that into the discussion.
Yes, I support this, and I ask you what you think about this. Well, how do you prefer an application to serve you, Gary?
Well, my view about the value of Synereo and the type of programs that we're building on the blockchain is that programs actually can serve the users, but more than that, that the smart contracts can serve as intelligent extensions of the user's desire to perform tasks and go about the business of living in the world, so that ultimately more people can be freed from the tedium and the distastefulness of having to suffer the indignities of forms of what I consider are enslavement.
Yeah, this brings up Patrick's topic of the day. He had a conflict with another meeting, but he asked how we are going to grow a new economy today, and Gary gave us a mandate here to end wage slavery, and this is what we're trying to do in the Divi, is form a collaboration that is voluntary, that rewards cooperation. And I have the phone call. Let me pause the tape.
Yes, and I don't. Are you pausing the tape?
No. Go ahead, Gary. I'm going to put myself on mute. Oh.
Yes. Well, I see more than just a voluntary division of responsibilities, because I see us heading towards an economy where people don't have to engage in activities for financial reward if they don't want to. And I fully expect society to enable people to do that.
Yep, that's good.
Yes, Julian just mentioned Julian, say it again. You said what we're doing is somehow related to people's freedoms. Could you say that again?
Yes, you expressed interest in autonomous organizations, and I share this interest. I feel that they manifest people's freedom. And,
yes, and this was the point that really resonated with me. And I don't know. To me, it's there. The autonomous organizations almost unshackle people from the system that we're currently under. And I see the system that we're currently under as being directly related to the types of economies that we are stuck with because of the limitations of the pre-automated world. And in some respects, I suppose I'm a bit utopian in my belief that technology is going to do all these wonderful things, but technology has already done all these wonderful things. The only problem is the world finds itself in a state of near self-destruction.
Yeah.
Because it certainly can't go on the way it's going now. And there doesn't seem to be any way to address the problems introduced by the successes of technology other than technology itself.
Well, technology certainly has given us great opportunities. But in our research, we found that the norms that people follow are more important than the software. Okay, following norms as human beings in terms of our interactions and our group processes, okay, is what we must do in order to address these issues. The software can facilitate that to a great extent. And we now have the technology where we can address the tensions of transparency and privacy and autonomy and control, freedom and slavery.
Yes, and efficiency and wastefulness. I saw a prediction by someone in the oil industry today that said he anticipates that the blockchain will immediately offer efficiency improvements on the order of 30% in the oil industry.
Well, this is where we started a couple of years ago with Synereo, and finally came to the conclusion that unless we have a decentralized blockchain, it's just simply not scalable, and it won't really solve the problems facing humanity.
I'm very interested. Can we talk about this influence of for instance, the blockchain technology on sectors like oil extraction and processing?
Well, I don't have the examples that he gave, but let me think off the top of my head. What was in his mind? But Julian, let me find that tweet.
It's all right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the efficiencies that we can get by having a authoritative global record, okay, gives us much better information and much more up-to-date information in order to make decisions, and we can stop making stupid decisions about managing our planet and doing other things based on the information. Now, I see it ultimately being controlled democratically by the people, okay, in the sense that they do business with those organizations that follow their social graces, in the Synereo sense, or their principles in terms of keeping their freedom and their rights and their property and their safety and the sustainability of the planet in mind. I mean, in other words, you know, you don't you know, if a wolf is trying to eat you, you don't feed it. You know, well, maybe you do, but the idea is that we control what we use, okay, and that ultimately leaves it. You know, since most people are good, most people don't want war, most people want to save the planet. That if we have a way of cooperating, we will do those things. Okay, right now we don't have a viable means of cooperating. Okay, the distributed blockchain technologies are going to make that much easier. Okay, it frees us from geography, it frees us from the hackers, it frees us to, you know, it eliminates censorship. It so we can be in control ourselves, and we can make the kind of planet we want to make. And most of us want a great planet, and we want to populate the galaxy and beyond, and we're determined to do it.
Okay. Well, anyway, Daniel, I'm sorry, Julian, you may know of Daniel Samoilov. He is a he says he distributes software for bankers and banks, software for doing classical banking in cryptocurrency and any currency, and actually any currency. And so his quote was, and he didn't give a link, unfortunately, and when I say I saw some examples, I must have imagined some, but his quote was, blockchain could slash oil industry costs by 30%, says chief of commodities trading giant. And this is now I remember where why that sounded so good to me, because of course I'm a trader of cryptocurrencies, but I was trading commodities back in the early 70s. So I can see immediately what he's talking about when he talks about putting just commodities in general on the blockchain. Do you have a Twitter?
Yes, and I found his account and this tweet.
Yes. I follow him, and I like a lot of his tweets. So maybe you will want to follow him also.
Yeah, can you put a link in the chat?
Yes, immediately.
Thank you, Julian, because I haven't figured out how to do it yet. I'm going back to the chat now.
Okay, let me make an attempt. Let me know whether you can see his words.
Yeah, we see it now. Well, we don't see his words, but we see the link.
I have provided the correct address. Well, I have. I've checked it myself.
You checked it?
Yeah.
Were you able to click on the link? Because I wasn't able to use that feature earlier.
Yeah, I clicked on it. It works.
Okay.
Annual Samoilov. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I confess that I have similar goals. So I do care about what you said, and this is what I want to devote maybe the rest of my life to, you know, things like this.
Yes.
I feel that such major improvements are urgent, and I have to work on them now. So
yes, I agree. That's exactly why I'm here. And you know, with me, it's not a matter of well, it's be here on or on some other project. I heard you talking about Colony when I came in. Yeah, I'm in their Slack group, but of course, I understand about the membership aspect of Colony, and I also understand about the limited, you know, the limited amount of time to spend on these different projects. I'm probably in about 20 different Slack groups related to cryptocurrency, and I have trouble following two of them. I mean, I try to follow our own and then the DiviDAO. And it's difficult to even keep up with those two. And I'm retired, believe it or not. So all I have to do is sit here and follow these tweets and Slack groups.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. It's imminent. There's the survival of the planet probably depends upon us being successful, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be Synereo. It could be many of the different groups could pull it off, in which case we'll all run over and join them. But yeah, it's urgent.
And at the same time, I think about the entire internet, because it's already so difficult to complete the work that Synereo started. And also another difficult task is to make it mainstream, used by a very large number of people. So this takes years. But this is only the software. And there are software developers, maybe even on your team, that want to make the internet unbreakable. You know, it cannot stop, unstoppable, let's say. But software is not everything. There's the entire infrastructure and energy that is needed. So a very large number of people, and I would like to discuss with those interested what we could do about these things, because one discussed risk is that some so-called politicians follow the orders of some old school industrialists and censor the internet. You know, they have the means, even military means, to prevent some people from access or complete access to the internet.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the one laptop per child project. That did a lot of exposure. Of course, it resulted in people getting smartphones instead, but or using phones. The type of thing that we could do is we could have start an investment token in solar cells, and essentially, I would buy a solar cell, and it would be and it would be placed in the third world, and it would be used in a location as long as it was needed there, and then it could be moved someplace else, or I could have it shipped to me at some later date to get out of the investment.
Yes, and this idea of governments cracking down on the internet, of course, it's not going to happen in any of the industrialized countries. hopefully, but it effectively is happening in other places in the world. And I think, the ideas like the mesh networks and the solar cells and getting people connected up, off of the grid, so to speak, and forming their own grids where they can ensure that they have connectivity, whether the government likes it or not. But for me, we could get involved in those kind of projects. But for me personally, I can be most effective by spending my energies on the distributed blockchain and the smart contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and my focus is on, trustworthy identity, strong anonymous identity, which is, I see as a prerequisite to all of this. And that's the reason I'm doing it. And we're doing it in Divi with our Bring Your Own ID project. My real interest is in how we can structure the communication process so that we can develop a collective intelligence. And it's what I was involved with for many years at NJIT, Group Systems Research, which, I'm hoping to resurrect to a certain extent what we started then, way back when.
I have a similar interest, so I would like to enable communication globally among people with a common language and common interests. The internet can enable a better communication among peoples and make more real and more effective this collective intelligence and collective awareness, I'd say. And one simple example is if any group of people has solved a problem, for instance, in South America, somebody in Russia or Africa can discuss with them this problem. They can simply borrow and adapt the solution, which would also save resources.
Yeah. And I think that, these kind of collaborations, making our systems interoperable is important. Now, Colony and many of these projects are, they're sort of being developed in a vacuum, okay? And every once in a while they release information, but, you don't really feel like you're participating in the project because it's always, wait till they release something, a white paper or something in, in a month or so, or, that it's a problem with working with many of the other efforts that could be synergetic with us if we can make them interoperable. I think one thing that I looked at from time to time is BitNation. There's a couple other projects that are very close to what we're trying to do, and we sort of should put a representative of Synereo in each of these other communities so that we can sort of sync with them and, initiate the potential interoperability, at least in the future, and maybe we can convince them to build on the Synereo platform when that's available. Right now, we're developing everything on Ethereum, and it's a prototype, okay? And it'll eventually be on the R-chain. But we'll still be able to interoperate with contracts on Ethereum because there will never be a homogeneous world where everybody's using the same thing. And if we want to interoperate, we're going to have to have collaborative contracts across blockchains and environments.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and one of the,
mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Julian.
I share a similar view. I have a similar view, and I'd work on both fronts, trying to make the software user experience more unitary, more homogeneous, and try to unite people through communication, by providing communication services.
Yeah, we should invite someone from the HI project here. The Human Interface Project is a really great definition of sort of the way to build the user interface and how to build the user experience. I mean, it doesn't do everything, but it's a starting point. And people and leaders from the Human Interface Projects have joined the Divi, although they're not active. So we already have a connection there that we could nurture.
Yeah, I happen to know the same people. I mean, I talked with people on the BitNation team and with somebody from this Human Interface Project, and I told them that I like their ideas, but we haven't started collaborating, and BitNation, I don't know, we've been talking, and at some point they stopped scheduling talks, and hardly anything. I have hardly any news from them in the meanwhile, and I saw that they scheduled the next talk for January, and I said, okay, I'll put this on my agenda. But yeah, it seems such a
it's a project that seems to have fits and starts.
But I would work the way that you suggested, that we build relationships among these people with similar with interests similar to ours, because I'm interested in what prevents these people from continuing their work. This would make me aware of risks that my team can face.
Yeah, speaking of communicating and forming connections with these other groups, I've been wanting to find out who oversees the Slack group organization, because over on the crypto chat group, they use something called a bridge, and it seems to allow them to put in their Slack group a channel which is actually from another Slack group, if I'm not misunderstanding what I'm seeing.
Yeah, we were connected with to them for a while, but the activity level was too much or something. It was discontinued.
Yeah. when are you talking about you were involved with them by being in their channel, or that you set up a bridge to their channel?
Somebody in Synereo, I think Ian, set up a bridge to their
Oh,
channel.
I see. I didn't realize that.
And I don't remember exactly why they had to turn it off. We might want to ask that in the community meeting today at 2:00.
Yeah, and I don't know that forming a bridge to crypto chat is necessarily the thing to do, but I'm sure that there are other groups that we would very much like to have a bridge to, where we could just shout out to every member of their group, hey, what's going on with such and such.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, if we're going to be collaborating, we should have common channels. Okay. Otherwise, how do we collaborate? Okay, we're not going to
Right.
be.
And the different groups are starting to come to this realization also that there's no need to reinvent the wheel if someone else has already solved that problem.
But we have to plan to get off Slack. If we're successful, the Slack will not handle it. Okay.
That may be the reason why they broke the bridge connection, because they realized that we're getting too invested in this sort of structure. And I agree, Slack has got some real serious downsides that could be solved by decentralization.
Mm-hmm. I ask you whether you'd like to stay in touch with me.
I'm sorry?
I ask you whether you'd like to stay in touch with me. I mean, I think I know your answer, Jim.
Well, yes, I would like to stay in touch with you. I'm not sure I'm at the same, my immediate concerns may be more technical than yours are. When I originally joined this particular discussion group, I'll be honest, I thought we were going to talk about more peer-to-peer communication protocols, which I would like to learn a lot more about. But I still find gathering with this group quite informative. And getting together with Jim yesterday, when N came into the channel to take control of Jim's node, public node, was that's the kind of learning that I have to do. I have to see someone else solving problems, and then I get a picture of what's going on. Too much reading in the technical areas can cause more confusion than insight.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good topics for future decentralization talks. We can focus on peer-to-peer communications. One time, the chats can be more philosophical, or they can be more technical. We should probably, try to get more of the community involved in these meetings and get other perspectives.
Well, Greg and Ed come to mind.
We had a lot more people sign up for this than actually showed up. Mm-hmm. And I think, if we want to continue this, which I think we do, I think we'll get support from the Divi in terms of video production and other things. I think this is, this group grew out of the community leaders of Synereo. And it was sort of like considered to be a thought leader group. Was what was proposed at one point. To some extent, I'm looking to invite people to this group who are thought leaders. On the philosophical side, like Doug Rushkoff. On the technical side, like Greg Meredith. We may alternate. One week do more philosophical, another week do more technical. What do you guys think?
I'd agree.
I agree.
All right. So, Julian, are you going to set up the Considerate for the next meeting? Or do you think?
Because sometimes the sound doesn't reach me clearly from your side.
Oh. Are you going to set up the doodle to schedule the next meeting?
Oh, I am unable to give a reply now, and you can imagine why. When my agenda becomes, more, stable, yeah.
Gary, you want to handle that, Gary? The doodle?
For a meeting next week, next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Oh, no. We're going to do it on Doodle, so we're open to times, right?
Right. Just suggest a few times, maybe 5 or 6 different times, and then we'll see how many people we get to signed up when that can make it at a particular time, and we'll schedule it for the time most people can make.
I will attempt it, and if it looks like I'm out of my league, then I will
just
try to hand it off.
Yeah, just connect to this Zoom room, and I'll give you help if you need help.
Okay.
You can share your screen.
I have the same attitude.
You have the same what, Julian?
Attitude. That is, I can make the same offer,
Right. I guess whoever can do it first will do it. So let's coordinate on that, and or just put something in Decentralized Station that says you're creating a divvy or a doodle, or I don't know. But one of the important thing in these in divvy is becoming knowing that in a group. And the same thing happens in a restaurant. They never get a good tip if there's more than six or more people, because sort of everyone leaves it to everyone else to leave a good tip.
Yes,
that's what we find in these groups, and this goes back to the beginning. The companies that I've been part of and everything else. If nobody's in control. Yeah. And then everybody assumes someone else is going to take care of things, and nothing gets done.
Yeah.
I'm sort of 100% committed, so I have to divvy anything I can. I mean, I could obviously create a doodle, but I have to divvy that if I can, because I've got my hand in too many pots and I can't do it all. And then
for this group,
it has to
is
be
the link for this room the same every time?
We have not set a time. We're still
no. My question was, do we always use the same link for this Zoom channel? Yeah.
My room. I have a paid account, so I have no 45-minute limit, and so we use my room. We can change the room. I can make a new room if we need to, but I don't think we need to. This room, everybody knows about it, and anybody can connect to it. But if it became a problem, we could use a different room.
Okay.
But we might as well use this one.
Sure.
So we've been an hour and 10 minutes. Any final comments before we close the meeting?
Well,
I'm tied up the rest of the day, and I will do what I can about the doodle notice tomorrow.
Yeah, there's no rush, but thank you. That's what accountability, and then we will get things done.
I'd like to ask Gary, in order to stay in touch, would you like us to use a social network? Would you like to see a social profile of mine?
Well, if you're on Twitter, would that suffice? I could give you my Twitter. My Twitter link is in the channel, but that's a good way to communicate. Usually, I check my Twitter daily, and my Twitter account is Time Loop, TIMELOOP.
Time Loop. Time Loop. Time Loop. Have you had your picture standing in front of a high rock, tall rock?
Yes, that's me.
Yeah.
That's an Avebury Circle in England, by the way.
I got the time loop here. That's not right.
And I can see that you've shared 21 hours ago an article about alcohol and pharmaceutical industries investing millions to stop us.
To keep marijuana illegal. I'm a user of marijuana proudly, and I think it's a wonderful medicine, and it should not be illegal anywhere. But that's my opinion, and I live in a state.
That brings up how we're going to disrupt medicine, and how we can safely have the sovereign right to self-medication. How it's not right that we're controlled in how we, medicate ourselves when there's so many errors and problems in the system. Okay, where the doctors are forced to give us prescriptions and treatments that they do not themselves believe is best for us as individuals, because it's prescribed one way, that you treat one thing for everybody, and everybody is different. And one way doesn't work for everyone. And there's genetic influences, there's allergies, there's all kinds of reasons why you can't do that. And how can we have trustworthy medical practices? And the way that's done is, any school that I'm following, like I believe that eating artichokes will cure my cancer. Okay, well, if there's a community that believes that, we become the experiment. If we can't do anything right, at least we can serve as a bad example. And then we will know for sure whether artichokes cure cancer or not, or how well they cure cancer. Because the test group is the people that want to do it themselves, not because they're paid $30 to take a risk with their life. Okay.
Okay, before I go, I want to get my picture of Euler for posterity, that I am wearing my Euler t-shirt this morning.
Wow. That's the beginning of quantum logic.
Euler did a lot of things.
Yeah.
It seems that we are similar people. And another thing is that I also follow Jill Stein, I'd say in German, but yeah, I see that in the United States you don't pronounce German words in German.
I'm sorry, Julian, would you repeat that last?
How do you say it?
I said Jill Stein, and I think that in the United States you don't pronounce German words in German. Unfortunately, I heard people say Steen, and there's no Steen. You know, is it what you call Jill, the politician?
Jill, we say Jill Stein.
Stein. Yeah, well, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yes, I won't vote for her because,
mm-hmm.
well, but I do like most of her ideas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm interested in what the chances are that this person becomes your president and not the two monsters or everybody talks about.
Oh, there's no chance that Jill Stein will become president this year or probably ever.
Oh God! Oh God!
Yeah.
Oh God!
Yeah.
She's the Green Party, and she, of the four major candidates, she's the lowest in actual popularity or polling numbers. The Libertarian Party has more support than she does.
I like Gary because she seems too much of a centralist. But I don't really know that much about her. Whereas Gary's a decentralist.
I agree that. However, do you know that Jill Stein did during her campaigning this year employed some blockchain technology in her system?
Interesting.
Yes, I'll have to try to find that link.
But
I got real excited about that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we have to watch is everybody has their idea and the perfect set of rules that everybody should follow, and these people are on the blockchain bandwagon, but they want to control me.
Right.
And I don't support them. And this is a problem with most systems, even like Backfeed and Colony and such. They got to loosen up a little bit. They can't make rules everybody has to follow. Everybody should be able to make their own rules. Scenario, your rules.
Well, it seems that we have to talk a lot about, and so I have to talk with you again. I'd also like to say goodbye for today.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to stay with us. I thought you were going to jump off for that other call.
Well, I have to. I'm under pressure. Yeah.
Sure. You're late. Okay. Well.
All right.
It's been fun, guys, and I look forward to the
productive meeting.
Awesome.
Maybe we can start some political action here that would include more open-minded people.
Well, now we have three venues, three topics for future sessions. We have philosophy, politics, and technical.
Yeah, maybe,
exactly.
Maybe we get public administrations to cooperate. Because at the moment, this current of software development wants to create an independent internet that is that involves no communication with governments. And I have nothing against this, but it has its risks.
Well. I've done quite a bit of thinking about this. I'm very optimistic about the way that the blockchain will sort of bring government within the blockchain, and I don't see most governments being afraid of it because of all the efficiencies that it will introduce into their own operations. And there are legitimate functions of government. Most assuredly, but I think the blockchain will help them do what they do better and more fairly.
Yes, but we know we need in the government those people who would enforce this. Because
Well, I think you already have a move towards this, at least in the financial sector.
Yes. But it's very small and slow. For instance, in Eastern Europe, there's hardly any good example. Yeah.
Well, we do have good examples here, especially in the. I think we're getting good coverage from agencies like the Securities and Exchange Commission, and what I see coming out of there is mostly positive.
Well, I wish you a good week.
You also.
Very good.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.